for my final project, I wrote a 10-minute play. And while I was when I was considering what I was going to write, something really stuck out in my mind and kept like replaying. And it was about that Russian guy who, he was living in the time of anti-realism, and he was like, yo, we gotta make a play where people are just like doing people things, like a day in a normal life. You have to excuse my daughter in the background, but it's just us, so I thought it was okay. Anyways, so then I was like, man, that's great. I love that. I love the idea of writing just normal life. And then I thought about like what a wild childhood I survived, and how, most people don't believe me when I tell them the things I went through. So I thought, like, man, if I had a play produced and it was a day of my life, I would really want it to be about my childhood so people could see what I lived and that it was real. So I really liked that. I used that as my inspiration. And I actually learned a lot about writing a play from the 1-minute play to the 10-minute play. I actually, after I submitted the 1-minute play, and already got the grade and everything, I thought, like, why not see what Reddit thinks, because they're a great source of knowledge. So I shared my play with Reddit and the playwriting subreddit, and they actually told me, like, hey, even in a 15-minute play, there's not 2 different scenes. Like, there's no way in a 1-minute play there would be 2 different scenes. You have to think about, like, the actual time it takes to, like, switch scenes. And then, like, the logistics of, like, throwing a cup. Like, there will be an audience in the front of you. Like, how is that going to work? And the actors still have to leave the stage. So I was like, oh my gosh, like, all these things I didn't consider. I'm not just writing a story. So I definitely learned that from Reddit. I don't know if that counts. But then, like I said, I had already learned about, like, realism. I really did not know about realism and anti-realism. And anti-realism is a great way to express, like, subjective feelings, maybe societal issues, things like that. But I really like how realism is just a look into somebody's life, like, or whatever. Like, it's like something that can really happen, or that really did happen. Like, that's really cool to see, like, real stuff. I don't know. Let's see. Share your work. Do you want me to, like, act out the whole play? I don't know. Basically, my work is that I wrote about just a day coming home from school. Beatrice represents me, and then the other 2 characters represent my brother and sister. And we all come home, and then you kind of see our interactions. And really, I just wrote about a day as it would happen. But obviously, it portrays the different like, roles that children adapt to, or that they become to adapt to a potentially harmful situation. And it's just it really gave me insight, and I really enjoyed it. And there's a lot of symbolism, because I know that plays in symbolism. I was thinking about my drama class. I took a theater class. We called it drama in high school, but I took in high school. And I was thinking about how we analyzed Forrest Gump, and how, like, there's so much symbolism in that movie, of course, but the feather, like, I didn't understand the symbolism of the feather as a child. And so I'm like, man, I need symbolism. So that's why I had the characters dressed up like characters in the same color coordination as characters from Cinderella, because I always felt like Cinderella. And the evil stepsisters, like, when I was writing this play, I realized, like, they're not evil, but this is what they grew up in. Anyways, so my sisters dressed up like an evil stepsister, because the power imbalance was, like, she held, like, the most power over me being abused out of all the children, which is not cool. But so she's dressed up like the evil stepsister. My brother is dressed up like Gus because he was also abused, but, well, I mean, we all really were abused in one way or another. Like, if you think about it, just witnessing abuse is abuse. But he was also, like, abused in similar ways to me. So he was, like, kind of quieter, but also, like, kind of, like, we kind of, like, bonded and protected each other. So he was dressed up like Gus because Cinderella and Gus are, like, buddies, like trauma bond buddies. Let's see, there's another symbolism. Oh, the monologue of the tree falling. Like, oh, if a tree falls and there's no one around to hear it, does it make a sound? Does it, you know? And then if no one's around to witness it, does it get back up? And that symbolism is like shown throughout the play until the end of the play. When you hear a tree falling, it's when, after like the character that represents me like goes on, you hear the tree falling. Actually, everybody leaves off stage, you hear the tree falling, because we all fell, and nobody heard us falling, nobody helped us. And the getting up, like, oh, does it get back up if nobody's around to witness it, is to represent resilience in me, but also in children of abuse, because you cannot get back up when the abuser is watching you. You can't. You're supposed to stay down and play dead, and, you know, but then when nobody's around to watch, they get back up. And it's just, I loved it. Okay, let's see. 3 things I learned about theater. Theater and theater are not the same. Theater is the production, and sometimes it happens in the theater, but theater is the building that holds the production. Let's see, what else? I learned that Shakespeare had a rival, Marlowe. I did not know he had a rival, because my theater teacher just had an absolute crush on Shakespeare, kind of like you do. And in high school, so I learned all about Shakespeare. Did not know about Marlowe, so it's very interesting. And I learned so much. Let me see. I learned about, let me just to pick one, Chinese, or is it Chinese? Japanese no theater, which is very interesting. I cannot say I would enjoy it myself, because I'm total American and my mind is not open to like other cultures as much. I'm sure eventually, hopefully, in my studies it will be, but I find it very interesting that their version of theater is in a way less creative, but like it holds so much more power than our theater, because our theater, we like, for the most part, of course, there are plays that are like, you know, a couple hundreds of years old, whatever, but like we have like new plays. It's always a new play. It's never like the same thing or based off of the same like story or the same god or whatever, the same myth. So it's kind of interesting that like their theater is not as creative, but it holds so much more power and meaning. And what worked, I really, really enjoyed that you gave me submission comments on practically everything. That guided me a little bit, and also is really nice to feel that I'm not just talking to some computer or keyboard, and I'm actually talking to a professor. And what didn't work, I really think, and I'm not the teacher, but you're asking, I really think that you should have mandated more, or had made it clear that you can respond with a video to like most everything. I know you said like, oh, it's a discussion, you can always respond with video, but if it were me, and I've had professors do this in classes that have nothing to do with public speaking or theater, I would, especially in a theater class, require people to submit video or voice, like for everything, and then like the same thing you did, sort of, maybe, where it's like, oh, you get less credit for doing typing. I think you should do that for everything, because it's theater. It's supposed to be person to person. We're supposed to, you know, I don't know. I know theater is not just about acting, but that's and responses are not acting. It's more of a discussion, but like theater is about people coming together, discussing things and collaborating. I think it'd be really cool if that was like more of an aspect. But anyways, and also, not everybody's gonna agree with this, but I really like how you put in every video like the tidbit in different parts. The only thing that didn't work is there was one where it was like, who do I hate? You asked at the end, oh, remember who I hated. And the problem with that is when you said it, it's like I had it in 1.5 speed, so it's like I heard, oh, he hates this, and then it kept moving on. It wasn't like, I don't know. And I know like in the words you wrote like, oh, pay attention to who I hate, but this is probably just me. I have like PTSD and OCD and a few other things that make concentration hard. So like I like was supposed to, and I did this in so many of your videos. Went back. Sorry, I have an autistic daughter, like I've told you. But so many of your videos I did go back and find it, but in that particular night I was dealing with what you can hear right now like the entire day, and I work full time, and it was just like, it was so hard for me to, and I did go back and try to find it, but I'm like, it was like a really long video too. It was like I think 30-minute long video, something like that. I'm like, I can't do it. Anyways, that's that. So thank you for asking. I did have a great semester. You're a great professor, and I'm sad that this is the semester I'm graduating, because I would have loved to take more classes with you. And I hope you have a great break too.